highly advanced drones flying over a US military base in Washington, where top officials are staying. This is not a normal incident. This is not something random reports revealed that unidentified drones were detected above a highly sensitive location. One that hosts senior government figures and key decision makers. And yet, despite the seriousness of the situation, authorities have not identified who is behind these drones. They remain officially unknown. But in the world of security and intelligence, nothing truly happens. By coincidence, drones with this level of sophistication are not simple devices. They require advanced technology, planning, coordination, and most importantly, intent. This was not a mistake. This was not an accident. This was a message. The question is not whether it was intentional. The question is what kind of message is being sent and to whom. When you look deeper into how global power operates, you begin to understand that not all actions are meant to be visible or claimed. Sometimes the most effective operations are the ones that remain in the shadows. Operations where the sender is never officially revealed, yet the signal is clearly understood by those who need to understand it. And this is where things become more complex. Some analysts see this kind of incident not just as a security breach, but as something more symbolic. Almost like a stab in the back of the United States. An indication that even at the heart of its own territory, there are vulnerabilities that can be tested and exposed by actors who know exactly what they are doing. This is not about destruction. This is about precision. About sending a calculated signal without crossing the line into open confrontation. Because in modern geopolitics, the line between war and pressure has become very thin. And this is where another layer of analysis begins to emerge in some scenarios. Operations like this are not designed to start a war, but to influence the direction of one. They can act as a form of indirect pressure on Washington pressure that forces decision makers to pause, to reconsider, to reevaluate their position in an ongoing conflict. When a nation that is used to projecting power suddenly faces a controlled and precise threat within its own sphere, the entire equation can begin to shift. Priorities change, calculations evolve, and what once seemed like a clear strategy becomes more complicated and uncertain. And this opens the door to a critical question. What if the objective behind such an operation is not escalation, but the opposite? What if the real goal is to push the United States toward reducing its involvement in a conflict, or even moving closer to ending it? Because when pressure is applied in the right place and at the right time, it can create a chain reaction. Inside the decision-making process, leaders begin to weigh risks differently. The cost of continuation starts to look heavier, and the appeal of de-escalation becomes stronger. This is how influence can be exercised without a single official statement or direct confrontation. And in this context, the idea of an unknown actor becomes even more important, because anonymity adds power. It creates uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the most effective tools in strategic pressure. When you do not know exactly who is behind an action, you are forced to consider multiple possibilities, each one carrying its own risks and consequences. And this multiplies the psychological impact of the event far beyond the physical act itself. This is not just about drones. This is about signaling capability, intent, and reach. It is about demonstrating that there are forces capable of operating close to critical centers of power without being immediately identified. And that alone can be enough to trigger a shift in behavior and strategy in global politics. Not all battles are fought openly. Some are fought through signals, through pressure, through carefully designed events that reshape the landscape without ever being officially acknowledged. And this is why incidents like this cannot be seen in isolation. They must be understood as part of a larger picture. One where every move carries meaning and every action has potential consequences. far beyond what is visible at the surface. So the real question is not simply who is behind these drones, but what comes next. What decisions will be influenced? What strategies will be adjusted? And what direction will this push the current situation toward? Because sometimes the fastest way to change the course of a conflict is not through direct confrontation, but through creating a new kind of pressure, one that forces a reassessment from within. And in a world where information power and perception are as important as military strength, the most impactful actions are often the ones that leave no clear signature, yet deliver a message that cannot be ignored.